Joining us on TheInformer is Sabina Reid, who's the host of the new podcast called Human Cogs. Sabina, welcome. We've had an opportunity over the last couple of weeks to talk about a host of different things, but one thing that won't go away is the COVID pandemic and the way that people are treating it and the way we're coping or trying to cope. And we've had the added story this week of the calamity that's hit the aged care sector, especially the one with the aged care homes in both Fawkner, in Ardea, and in a couple of other parts of Melbourne. The toll is starting to mount. The numbers today are horrible. The death toll is climbing. We haven't seen this number before. The number that's just been released is 13. How are the families that are experiencing this, who are right in the middle of it, losing, and some of their parents are struggling to make it through? What are they thinking? Well, I know that we've had a chance to speak to a couple of family members, and one of them, has been tremendous in that he didn't want to lay blame, but he wanted to lay out for all and sundry to see and hear just what a catastrophic fall there'd been from just the beginnings of this month. So in a matter of days, something that looked like it was in control just got way out of control.
George, I think we need to be looking at the humans behind this story. It's so easy to talk about the aged care sector as if it's some part of our business community, but behind this aged care sector is individuals, as you're talking about. It's our mothers and our parents and our in-laws and our siblings. And these stories need to continue to be told. And my concern here is, without also playing the blame game, that the problems and the issues and the catastrophes that we're facing at the moment very much sit behind a system that was already broken. And then enter stage left COVID-19. And of course, it's a perfect storm. We have our most vulnerable in society. We have a workforce in the aged care sector that often, and I know this is not true of everyone in the aged care sector, but often they're working at very low rates, and not from a place of passion or purpose, but because they don't know what else to do with themselves, or they can't find other forms of employment or secure forms of employment. And so this group of people, both workers and residents in aged care, aren't getting the attention, aren't getting the importance or the validity that either group need in our society.
What adds to the calamity and the turmoil is the fact that we've watched the rest of the world at the beginning of the year struggle. Italy, France, Spain, Ireland, and of course then Britain, and of course America. I would have thought that our aged care homes would have been looking and thinking, oh dear, if this comes to us, we need to be better prepared. Now, the other thing is there's a Royal Commission currently going on. So you would have thought everyone would have been on their best behaviour and they're trying to be as nimble and as smart as possible. But it seems to me that this pandemic has just blindly run through, and it's run amok through our aged care sector. And you're right, families are just shocked to the back teeth.
We need to talk about our culture and how we view and how we treat the older people in our community. One of my favourite sayings is that some cultures have what they call their elders. And when you hear the word elder, you think of someone who you respect, who has wisdom, who has something to share, and who younger generations want to spend time with. And then in our culture, we have the elderly. The elderly sounds frail. They sound like they're has-beens, like their time has been and gone. And there's something very wrong with the way we view people who have aged. Age in our society should be something that we view with wisdom and compassion and respect. And I think there is something quite fundamental, even beyond the healthcare system here, with regards to how we in Australia live and die with our views on the elderly or our elders.
Here. Are there coping strategies that we can adopt to help us? Or in fact, are there coping strategies that you can recommend right now that the viewing audience can take on board?
I think the first thing is that, well, if you're in the firing line, that you have a loved one in an aged care facility, that you are their voice. They are vulnerable. Many of the people in these facilities aren't able to articulate or speak or communicate what their fears are, what their needs are. So we have to continue to be the advocate for those who don't have a voice for themselves. I think on a more compassionate and human level is to continue to see the people in aged care as the humans that they are, instead of again, I'm going to repeat what I've said, instead of an old person. Everyone in aged care had a life, had a story, has loved ones, had things that they were proud of and not proud of. And it's our role, I think, as loved ones to continue to see the individual behind the elder sort of label that often comes first and foremost for so many of us. So I think if you have a loved one in this situation, continue to fight for them, continue to find ways to connect with them. I've got someone that I have been working with recently who had a heartbreaking story of her parent who was dying in New Zealand. She knew that he was dying in New Zealand and she was unable to reach him because of the laws around COVID and international travel and New Zealand's laws as well. And so she watched as her father died and she was unable to be by his bedside. And I think it's really a humanitarian crisis that we're facing here. She will never have that time again. I feel teary talking about it on her behalf. She was talking about not being able to moisten the lips of her dying father. And then he had a funeral recently and she had to do a Zoom talk or presentation or eulogy, if you like, and she'll never get that time back again. So I fear that this is actually going to have significant ripple effects for those of us who are losing loved ones or fighting for loved ones in aged care, but also, of course, for those who are dying or struggling in aged care settings and who don't have the connection of loved ones, which is our life force for all of us.
Yeah, my heart goes out to that story because I lost my father 3-4 years ago now, and I can remember those scenes. I remember the funeral well, the eulogy and so on. So they're very special moments. They're part of the passing, they're part of the so-called wake, they're part of that the rite of passage, if you will, for everyone involved. And to be denied that is, it's mind-numbing. Before I let you go, I want to run something past you because we've seen a whole wave of civil disobedience run through in ripples over the last few days. There are individuals who have not only misbehaved but have decided that they know better than anyone else. They believe that there's so much conspiracy talk going out there. They want to behave in any manner that suits them. What do you say to the rest of the community and those that are looking on? Do we get angry with them, or do we just roll our eyes and say, you know, that the poor things, they don't know any better?
I don't think that anger or even, worry or retaliation really lead to different outcomes. I think it's more important that we focus our energies on what we can do to do the right thing. What would be a slippery slope to nowhere is if we look upon other people doing the wrong thing and think, well, why am I doing the right thing? For so many weeks, I've towed the line. If they're not going to, I won't either, because then we have a ripple effect that's going to lead our community into disaster. So continue to focus on your own backyard, on your own choices, on your own behaviour. And I think in the case of people who are doing some things that make no sense at all, that it's probably something out of our control and therefore not useful.
Leave it to the establishment or leave it to the authorities to look after. Sabina Reid, as usual, on the money, thank you so very much for helping us through. And let's hope that some of your wisdom, some of your words offer the sort of peace and support for those who are going through a very, very traumatic time.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Good to be here.
No worries. All the best. Stay safe.